Welcome back to Where Yellows Walk. This week it's how to beat Borough. We're looking at XP and what does that tell us about Oxford season, and asking Sam to review the summer transfer window before we even start talking about the January one. Welcome back, Sam. Good to have proper football back this week. Or is it? Because Middlesbrough are in town, who have just thrashed Luton 5-1 in their last game. How would you beat a side like Michael Carrick's team, who love possession and can pass right through you if you're not careful?
Yeah, it's definitely not another 3-game week I would have wanted after the return of the international break with Middlesbrough, Sheffield United, and then Millwall. I think it's basically got to come down to the same way we've tried to play against Burnley, against Watford, against Sunderland, and that's allow them time on the ball, but be strong defensively, and when we get our moment, take them. Because, obviously, the best of our results against those sides was obviously in the 0-0 draw with Burnley, which is also, like the game against Middlesbrough at Grenoble Road. Obviously they dominated the game, but we took our chances. We defended really well. And I think that's what we got to do against the sides in those kind of playoff chasing positions in this championship.
Okay. Here's the team that started, of course, against in the last game against Watford. Now, there's rumours are you might have some first teamers back in time for this game. So who comes in and who doesn't make it?
So I think the first man that's got to come in is that man there. He's got to come back into this side. Where he does come in is going to be a really interesting question, because my natural instinct would be, bring out either McEachran or Volks, probably more so Josh McEachran, and bring Brannigan back in. But I think maybe what Des is more likely to do, it's likely we'll probably have Shemi Poacheta back, but again, we're then missing a man on the other side. So maybe it'll end up being maybe a 5-3-2 with Ruben or Tyler Goodrum running slightly deeper behind Dane Scarlett up top. I think for the most part, that's the line that is going to be, is that lineup with maybe Cameron Brannigan back in the side. I think that way could really work, because obviously Cam is, all action box to box. Volks, I thought, looked really good against Watford because he had that man next to him to kind of feed the ball at. And then obviously McEachran is just, I think McEachran might well be the best ball player we've got at this football club. Obviously his potential when he was a youngster at Chelsea is evident of that. I think that's maybe the best way to go. And like we've done with when we were playing a 4-3-3, slightly stagger those three in midfield, create a few more passing links between Brannigan and maybe Rodriguez, maybe Goodrum, and create a few more chances.
Okay. Really good points there. Dane Scarlett continues for you up top then?
Yeah, it has to. Obviously, the thing is that, Harris is all about hard work. Dane is getting there, definitely. I think with Harris, it's a case of, keep him on the bench for 1 or 2 games, give him that fire, because we've seen what can happen with Rodriguez when you give him that fire in his belly to kind of, go out and prove a point. But I also think Dane's return proves he has to start. And the thing is, if you look at the miss against Watford, it's indicative of something we've done time and time again, where we've flashed the ball across the face of goal and he's not been able to get onto it. Harris has done it. The only solution I can find is bring in Will Goodwin. But the problem is with Goodwin is you lose the mobility and you lose the work rate that Harris and Dane Scarlett give you.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Drop us your starting 11 in the comments below. 3 quick ones then to finish with this week. First of all, XP has been published by Opta, and you can read into this or not. But according to Opta, Oxford sit 5th bottom based on their expected points. Now, obviously, it's a couple of places lower than where you currently are now, because you actually got 2 points more than expected. Does that match kind of what you've been seeing in games, that actually you actually are overperforming in terms of XG, and your opponents aren't perhaps taking their chances when they are presented with them?
I think it's a bit of both, to be honest, because I mean, if you look at that, the point I think is a 0.8 expected points difference between where we are and where Opta predict we should be. I think that that comes down to two results really. That comes down to the fact that we weren't, we got back level against Luton and didn't kill off that game. We had so many chances to do so, but then against Hull and against Burnley, they had so much of the ball, they created the chances, but just couldn't finish their dinner. I think it's a case of, I think where we are is very much a fair reflection of Oxford because, we came into it with the lowest budget in the Championship, a side full of players that, were League One quality, and a lot of people thought we were going to get, battered every single week. We've proved time and time again we can compete in this division. Obviously, we've got a lot of games still to play. And it is a case that we need to start finishing our chances because we've had so many big ones. Obviously Bristol City, Watford, Hull. There have been some big chances in those games that we need to finish off. But I think we're in a pretty decent shape. And to be honest, if we were to finish, a place, I should say, above the relegation zone, I think every Ox fan would take that just because that's where we're expected. This bright start, being just outside the playoffs has really been a false dawn and kind of cloud our expectations of what we saw at the start of the campaign.
Okay, brilliant, well explained. Again, finally, we're going into December now, so Tinsel will be up, and we're talking to you at January transfer windows. But before that, we're going to have to close down the summer transfer window. Mm-hmm. This seems odd to ask in November, but last time we asked you, you and the team said, "Oh no, we haven't seen all the players yet." Well, now you have. So, out of 10, what score do you give it?
I think I said a 7 in the last time we spoke about transfer window, but I think it has to be a 6, maybe slightly gone down, because obviously Will Vaulks has had kind of very much an up and down first couple of months as an Oxford United player. We haven't seen an awful lot of Shami Poacheta, Matt Phillips. Obviously, Hida Turraves has only just come back into the side after being injured. There has been a lot of injury problems at Oxford United, which I think has meant that we've seen not a lot of some of our summer signings. Of course, Siriki Dembele, we're expecting we might not see him until the new year. He's our record transfer. And it's really, it's not obviously something exclusive to us. Portsmouth have had a lot of problems as a fellow newly promoted side. Derby, interestingly, haven't, but that's because Paul Morn is big into his fitness as a coach. But I think 6. I am going to be interested to see where Des Buckingham and Ed Waldron kind of go with this transfer window. It's obviously going to be a case we're going to get Jack Curry back, but it's about kind of whether we look for more reinforcements in the wide areas or just use that time to kind of get players back fit, and try and utilise we enter the FA Cup at that point. Hopefully we get a favourable draw so we can kind of give some first minutes back in the side to a Siriki Dembele, to a Joe Bennett, to even some of the loan players to see what they can offer.
Brilliant. Okay. And very quickly, if Des was to be poached away by some other team, for example, Hull City, in the next coming weeks, which Championship manager do you rate the most?
So I'm going to give you 2 answers. I think the more realistic option is that we go and get Mark Robbins. Of course, just been let go by Coventry. Majority of their fan base saying that is completely unfair, that he should have been given more time, given the credit he had in the bank. I like him as a coach. Obviously, when we played him early in the season, I love his attacking style. But if we're here to dream big, look, I like Scott Parker. I don't quite think, he's proved himself in terms of he's something about his style isn't quite right. You're seeing some of the results that Burnley are getting at the minute. I'm going to dream big. Bring Chrissy Wilder back in just for nostalgia purposes, and the fact that, we get to see, Chris once again as Oxford United manager back, in the Championship. It's got to be him.
All right. Great shout. All right. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Okay. Enjoy the next game, and we'll see you on the other side of the Middlesbrough game. Good luck. You might need it.